And we're now down to our last topic, embedded systems in intelligent building auxiliaries. So, like what I mentioned earlier, I hope this is something that can give new insights, new ideas to all who are here, to all participants who are already practitioners or professionals in this field. Okay, so because we're not just using embedded systems in building auxiliaries, but specifically in intelligent building auxiliaries, and that's what I believe to be something new. Okay, so sige, let's take a look at this. So in smart or intelligent building auxiliaries, embedded systems act as the nervous system of the building, constantly sensing, processing, and acting to make autonomous decisions. So, first, we take a look at a basic integrated BMS architecture. BMS, by the way, stands for Building Management System. So, um, basically, we are trying to integrate the different building auxiliaries, and those building auxiliaries typically consist of our CCTV system, our fire detection and alarm system, our access control system, our communications, voice and data communications networks. What else? Even our different automations and other special features of the building. Okay, so energy management as well. So they can all be integrated into a BMS solution or building management system solution. Um, and the embedded systems actually, the different embedded systems in these different building auxiliaries actually constitute the nervous system of your building. So why nervous system? Because it allows our buildings to constantly sense, meaning like through the CCTVs, they can have eyes that they can process that allow them to process what's going on within the vicinity of the building. Um, Also, for example, we have the fire detection and alarm system. The building can know whether there's a fire has broke out or has occurred somewhere within the building. And we're not just talking about sensing, also processing. Through our embedded system, we can make decisions. We can process the data that these embedded systems have collected throughout the building so that they can make decisions autonomously. So when I say autonomously, by itself. So the building can make decision by itself. Okay, and that is not possible if we don't have components of the nervous system that make our building think, okay, sense, process, and act on it. So once they have their autonomous decision, they can act on it, make the necessary automations, or maybe send some alerts or notifications, or produce corresponding data out of it. So the possibilities are infinite, actually, like what my uh, professor once used to tell us. All right, so building control and monitoring embedded systems. Okay, so for building auxiliaries, usually the embedded systems are in the form of PLCs or programmable logic controllers. So they are like Arduino and Raspberry Pi, but they are more rugged. They are more established, heavy duty. They are more industry graded. Okay, in other words, they are like level up embedded systems, right? However, they can be sometimes they can be overkill. So, for example, if you just want to monitor the water level within or to check whether there's a flood or a leak within the building, and that's the only thing that you want to do, then PLCs will be something like an overkill. Okay, but PLCs can actually handle multiple IOs, both analog and inputs, depending on your configurations, depending on the model of the PLC that you are using. Okay, so in other words, whatever the concepts that we have discussed earlier about embedded systems, they are basically applicable also in PLCs. Although there could be some differences, especially PLCs have a different interface for programming. Okay, so sometimes we have more complicated forms of PLCs. So um, the we have additional attachments or additional functions in PLCs that will make them become supervisory controllers. By the way, I think the explanation a while ago was interrupted by the internet connection. So supervisory controllers, SCADA. So if we have a SCADA or SCADA, um, SCADA or SCADA means supervisory control and data acquisition. So we have the supervisory controller, and below them are our remote terminal units. So something like the supervisory controller are like the masters, and the remote terminal units, which can be PLCs or simple Arduino or ESP boards, they are the slaves, okay, or the RTUs or remote terminal units. Again, they are the ones directly interfacing the or they are directly interacting with the sensors and actuators in the field. Okay, unlike the supervisory controllers, they are just waiting for the data from those devices in the field, and they process it, and they're the ones who are forwarding it to the upper units, especially on the apps applications, software level. Okay, and another form of building control and monitoring embedded systems. So not all PLCs or not all embedded systems are in the form of PLCs or supervisory controllers. Sometimes they are like in the case of fire detection and alarm system, we have FACP or fire alarm and control panel. So specialized. This is a specialized embedded system intended for the FDAS. We also have the NVR for CCTV system. So inside the NVR, there's NVR network video recorder. So inside it, there's an embedded system as well. Okay, HVAC panels, access control units, name it. Anything that is specialized and cannot be considered as a PLC um, can still be considered an embedded system if it meets the qualities or the characteristics of an embedded system that we have mentioned earlier. Okay, so actually in a building, embedded systems are everywhere. They are not just in school projects or thesis. Okay, so this is something I really want to point out in this webinar. Okay, and I believe there are some professional embedded systems engineers listening to this webinar. Thank you for your thank you, and you are much welcome here. Thank you for gracing our event, and feel free to share your inputs as well. You can comment. You can share them in our comment section. If you're there's a correction, maybe I misused some terms, or there's something I failed to explain very well, feel free to share your thoughts. Okay, and moving on, we have levels and key components of a BMS. So I just included some what do you call this, acronyms, since they appear in this diagram. Okay, so you can take a screenshot because I'm going to zoom in. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's try to zoom in. Let's start with level 1. Okay, our level 0 actually. So level 0 is our field network. So that's where the action takes place. So there you can find the sensors and actuators. Okay, the in other words, or in analogy, kumbaga sila ang mga workers, the actual or workers or laborers. Okay, level 0, and they are directly they are connected. Special, for example, they can be connected via an Ethernet switch. Okay, if you want them to be addressable, or you want them to control or monitor via the network. So, for example, you can connect them via switch so that they can be controlled by our RTUs, remote terminal units, or DCS. I forgot the meaning of DCS. Okay. By the way, this is already the first level, or the level 1, or the control network. So, like what I mentioned, normally we can have as simple as an Arduino or ESP board here. But in building setups, we need something more rugged. That's why normally PLCs are used. Okay. And then here, this is already something like a supervisory level. So we have a SCADA system for supervisory control and data acquisition. Okay, so they manage the different RTUs in level 1. Okay, because in level 2, the engineers or those who are assigned to monitor the system can interact here already, especially with the help of an HMI, or human machine interface. So HMI can be as simple as a tablet, a dashboard on a tablet, panel on a screen, or maybe your mobile app. So they can, as long as there's a human machine interaction, that is already considered as an HMI. More advanced versions are, I think, virtual reality, augmented reality, or their combination called augmented reality. Sorry, mixed reality, or MR. So that's another emerging technology actually. So supervisory level is also monitored by our operational and control network, so higher ops, especially with regards to data storage already. So if you have a data server, or uh, some other networking specialized devices. So we can have a level 3, or sometimes we go directly to the level 4. So this is more on the end user already, or the one who oversees it all. The less techy ones. Okay, so maybe the big boss can monitor it, the executives can monitor it. So that's why it's called enterprise network. That's why this layer is directly connected to our servers, different servers. While this one, level 3, is more on the technical servers. Okay, so like our sensor data are programmed here, or are stored here. Okay, so uh, oh, by the way, this is not the case always. It can may vary from one design to another. So different buildings, different designs, different the layers could be different. Okay, so this is just an example, and we cannot say this is a general example. Okay, by the way, I mentioned the term switch. So switch, to be more exact, is an Ethernet switch. So this is different from a router. So a router connects multiple networks, while a switch connects devices within a single network. Okay, and forwards data based on the MAC addresses. MAC addresses are actually the physical addresses, or they're like the identification of all the devices in our building. Okay, so that's another topic I cannot expand further. Okay, so let me know if you have some questions. Right, and I think this is the last slide maybe. So we have the another emerging technology, or another key player in Industry 4.0. We have the cloud computing, but it's not alone. We now have the fog computing and edge computing, and we can make use of them in building auxiliaries, especially knowing that we have different levels like what I've shown earlier. So cloud computing sits at the top. So basically, if we have internet connection, that's the time that we can use cloud computing. So without internet, we can only reach until fog computing. So remember the supervisory level. So if we do the processing within the supervisory level only offline, so that's actually called fog computing. But if we do it farther, or maybe nearer, closer to the actual devices, our servos and actuators, uh, meaning beside them or actually within the sensors and actuators, that's already called edge computing. So meaning they are already processed within this layer, within the field layer. So that's edge computing. So what's the point? So if we do this, for example, if we have some type of processing here, there's no need to reach the fog, the supervisory level, and even the internet for cloud computing just to process a simple function. Okay, so if the the processes are quite simple and there's no need for data to travel all the way to the cloud, then maybe we can do this in our edge processing. And that's where embedded systems come to play or actually become more important. Okay, without the embedded systems, we cannot do edge computing and even fog computing. Okay, so with the help of embedded systems, our sensors and actuators can already process data by themselves, so that there's no need to escalate them as long as they can, as long as they can process it, as long as those are simple and normal processings, usual processings, they can do it by themselves already with the help of our embedded system. But if the decision is more complex, if there's an important case like there's a certain disaster or anomaly, then they can escalate them to the supervisory level, wherein the supervisory level will, the embedded system there will perform the fog computing, and if it is settled, then nice. But if it's something very crucial, something that the fog computing cannot satisfy or cannot perform, then it must be escalated to the cloud computing level. Okay, so cloud computing level normally is where our enterprise level um, connect to for convenience and even for security purposes. Okay, so especially if they want to monitor the system remotely, or if they want to control the system remotely, then via cloud they can do that. Of course, that's via the internet. Without the internet, there's no cloud computing. Okay, so I guess we have here the comparison between the edge location is on the field, directly at the sensors or actuators. Purpose, of course, like what I mentioned, immediate response and possibly local filtering. So, meaning not all processing will be forwarded upwards. They can filter out the what needs to be processed. Okay. Example, we have the Arduino, Raspberry Pi, or even our PLCs. We can make these. This will serve as our embedded systems that will perform edge computing. Sometimes, or one among the most common uses are fire alarm triggers and siren instantly. So that's just one of the many examples or use cases. Okay, to level it up, we have fog computing. So it is located at the site level or the supervisory level. Um, Purpose, it aggregates edge data near real-time processing. So we have data from different edge devices. It will make a summary. It will draw insights, draw patterns, and produce near real-time processing. Okay, because the more real-time is on the edge level. Okay, we can expect there's some delay because of the data transmission involved. Okay, so example devices are already our BMS server, our SCADA or DCS server, or our industrial gateway. And an example of a use case, we have building server optimizes HVAC scheduling, HVAC, heat, ventilation, and air conditioning. We can schedule them to automatically turn on, turn off, adjust, and based on our data. Okay, so cloud computing, on the other hand, as what I mentioned, if you want to remotely control or monitor our system, then computing is our way. Okay, and purpose, long-term storage, big analytics, and global view. There are some processes that cannot be handled by our edge and fog computing devices. So that's the time we forward it to the cloud computing level. Okay, so example of the devices, we don't have physical devices on our site. They are the devices located in AWS, Azure, or enterprise servers. Okay, they are big. They are actually supercomputers already, not just embedded systems. Okay, and use case, for example, headquarters monitors multiple smart buildings. If you usually this is if the uh, you need cloud computing if you are already handling a very large building or multiple sites. Okay, so I think that's the summary of edge, fog, and cloud computing. And now, since AI comes in, so with the help of edge computing, we there's no need to wait for cloud computing or to be dependent on the internet and cloud computing just to perform AI. So many of our devices are already leveled up so they can accommodate AI within the edge or the field level only. Okay, or even in the fog for higher level of AI applications. Okay, so that's the good thing about embedded systems. They can now provide AI functions by themselves without the help of the cloud, meaning we can have AI offline already. Okay, especially for example, we have aside from the high-end embedded systems, we have ESP32S3 for that's a microcontroller board with built-in AI already. So we can have something like that for beginners. That's highly recommended, and we have a video for that in a while. Okay, and before I end, I'd like to introduce Project Safety Squared. Safety Squared status alerts and foresights on emergencies and threats to your safety. Safety squared. So featured technologies, we have centralized safety dashboard integration, AI-powered emergency communications, smart asset management and analytics, intelligent occupancy and evacuation management, predictive hazard and risk detection systems, and AI-assisted emergency access control and monitoring among the main features that we are trying to incorporate in this system. So this is an ongoing project, and it is meant to create or provide smart management for safer spaces. And we will be glad to schedule a demo meeting with you. And we are, I forgot to mention, we are actually looking for partners who can work with us and maybe can fund us as um, we have limited resources. And let me show a glimpse of that. So basically, there's nothing fancy, too much fancy. Basically, we just make use of AI and analytics to level up the safety management in a building. And not just management, even the compliance to DOLE, OSHC, Occupational Health and Safety, or Safety and Health Commission. Um, Regularly they have some compliance procedures, so it can be burdensome to many, especially if you're doing things manually, and especially if you're managing a very large building with different building auxiliaries, so you have too much data, and you cannot manage them conveniently, since these systems, this CCTV, FDAS, access control system, or emergency and with emergency control system, and even or energy management systems, public address with background music, and work environment measurement systems. All of these things are normally standalone systems. Although they are integrated, the data are not that much integrated or not that much. I forgot the term, collated or consolidated, and out of that data, consolidated data, or it's a good thing if you have the data consolidated, because that's when you can perform analytics and AI functions for more advanced features. Okay, like proactively providing status and alerts. So you're not waiting for something bad to happen. You can have status and alerts right before bad things happen. And you can have safety foresights to help you come up with a smarter management plan for the safety of your building occupants and visitors. Okay, so we'd be glad to explain it further in a meeting with you. Let us know if you're interested. And again, we'd be glad if some of you could partner with us. Okay, so that's the end of our webinar. I really appreciate your presence. I really appreciate the participation of each and everyone who's still here with me, uh, and participate with our quiz and evaluation. So you are all much appreciated, and uh, mabuhay po kayo. So by the way, before we end, quiz and evaluation part 4 QR code pakiscan, kindly scan or type the URL. And while you are doing so, um, we have a video, or kindly watch this video.